Okay, I wanted to make a quick video talking about ions, cations, and anions, and why certain elements gain electrons, why certain elements lose electrons. And the overall theme here is that they all want to have a full outer shell of electrons, a full valence shell. Remember, the valence shell is the outermost shell for a particular element, and in most cases they want 8 electrons in that outer shell. They want to be noble. They want to be like the noble gases. Remember, the noble gases, they are group 8A, which means that they have 8 electrons in their valence shell. Remember that the group number tells you how many valence electrons a particular element has. So all of the group 6 elements will have 6 valence electrons, group 7 will have 7, group 2 will have 2 valence electrons, so on and so forth. So if I start with one of the noble gases, we'll do neon, and I'll fill in the electrons here for neon. So neon has the atomic number of 10. So assuming that it's neutral, which it is, it will also have 10 electrons, and there they are. And as we can see here, neon has a full outer shell. Okay, has a full valence shell, has 8 electrons, so neon's happy. Now, if we remove one of these electrons, okay, and now we have 9, this is how many fluorine would have if fluorine was neutral. Okay, so fluorine is a group 7A element, so it has 7 electrons in its valence shell. And as you can see, it just wants one more. So fluorine will gain an electron in order to become noble, to become like neon. So that's why we call fluorine or fluoride, we call it an anion, and we write it like this, F minus. Okay? And that minus is that extra electron that fluorine gains from the environment. Okay? Now let's try a different one here. So if we go to the other side of the periodic table and we look at something like magnesium. So magnesium is atomic number 12. So if we assume that magnesium is neutral, it will also have 12 electrons. So I'm going to put those in. Okay, so as you can see, the valence shell for a neutral atom of magnesium only has 2 electrons. Now, it's really easy for magnesium to lose those 2 electrons, because if magnesium loses those 2 electrons, so now they're gone, magnesium has a full outer shell, 8 electrons in the valence shell, which again, that is the goal. So we write magnesium as Mg2+. Since magnesium lost 2 negative charges, it becomes positive by a factor of 2. Okay? So basically, the big takeaway is that the alkali metals, the alkaline earth metals, they are going to lose electrons. Okay? And the nonmetals, things in group 5 and 6 and 7, they're going to gain electrons because it's easier to gain electrons because they're closer to 8. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do oxygen. So oxygen's in group 6A. So if we assume that oxygen is neutral, it's going to have 6 electrons in the valence shell, which it does. And as you can see, this valence shell is not full. So oxygen is going to gain 2 more electrons, so we write this as O2 minus because it gained 2 positive charges. Okay. So if you gain negative charge, you become more negative. If you lose negative charge, you become more positive. And that's the case for the metals. And nonmetals are going to gain electrons. Now remember, the ways in which this occurs is by forming compounds. So we use the example of sodium chloride. So if we do the electrons for a neutral atom of sodium, it's 11. So then sodium just has this 1 electron out here. Now if sodium loses this, then sodium will have a full outer shell. And it will lose this. That's why we say it's Na+. So sodium could lose this electron to another atom that needs that electron, something like chlorine. So, chlorine is in group 7A, so it's just one away from 8. So this electron will be lost to something like chlorine. And then we write it Cl minus for chlorine, chloride ion. Okay, so the big takeaway is that for most of these elements, they want 8 electrons in the valence shell. And the metals are generally going to lose electrons, and they will become positive. Those positive ions we call cations. And the nonmetals, for the most part, they are going to gain electrons. They're going to become more negative. We call those anions. Okay, so hopefully this helps a little bit. If not, please feel free to reach out. And, as always, if you have any questions, just let me know.